Hey guys, Kevin Rogers, cold winter day. We made it to 2021. Thank goodness, we all made it. Haven't done a YouTube video here in a while. Haven't been fishing. I've been crappie fishing once since my last video down there in Texas. And I want to talk about that fishing trip. So it was absolutely horrible. It was not good. I had the GoPros ready. I thought we were going to smash them. I got invited to go down to a little sneaky hole down in Oklahoma from Matt Painrack. Matt Painrack is the host of Bass Talk Live, a huge bass podcast down in Oklahoma. And I was excited. I was jazzed up. I know about these little sneaky holes down in Oklahoma. A little pond, it's a public water, but it's small. And I thought he'd told me what he'd been catching, and I was ready to go. He'd been there the week before, and had 7 over, 230. And here's the bait. He actually left the bait in my boat. And how he was catching them. Look at this bait. He was using a baby fluke. That's a Zoom Super Fluke, one of the baby size. That's what he was catching crappie on. And I thought, okay. All right, and I saw the pictures of the fish he caught. I'm like, here we go. I was so excited. I was wound up. I could not wait to get down there. We get down there. I had the cameras ready. I was going to try to figure out the lake. He said they were out suspended. They were those fish that were just wandering out in wide open water, chasing bait, not on the timber. Fine, I can do that just as well as I can the timber. This morning starts out good, and I'm seeing these fish on the live scope, and I'm using the big, giant, afterburners, 1/4 ounce head. That's Oklahoma special right there, guys. Black and pink, chartreuse head, Oklahoma giant, using the giant warbird. And the first 2 fish I catch are 2 1/4 to 240, 2 of them. Giant crappie, right? So I say when it's horrible, we caught 2 fish within the first 2 hours that were giant crappie anywhere in the country. I thought, okay, here we go. We're going to figure this thing out. And it got worse and worse and worse. And I could not get them to bite. They would not bite. There's no way in heck they were going to bite Matt's giant baits. So I started downsizing, and I still could not get these fish to bite. And it wasn't that they were spooking. A lot of the problems with this live scope we're seeing is that the fish are, the bait is spooking them. It's just that they were in a negative mood. Come to find out, there were other people fishing that exact lake. There were other people fishing within an hour of that spot in Oklahoma that we know. People from the Bass Tank, some of our other team members, and they didn't even catch a fish that day. It was just one of those days that sucks. And I sucked, and you look, and most of the time when I suck and I'm driving home a week later, or even on the drive home, I think about what I did wrong and what I could do better to make that fishing trip better. We've all had them, right? There's nothing we could have done to make that fishing trip better. And there's just days like that. That was not the day for us. The fish were not biting. They were not reacting to the bait. You just call it a loss and do better next time. Just going more so you have better odds of catching them when they were biting. It was just one of them days they did not want to bite. That lake had giants in it, and I could see them, and I could not make them bite. And like I was saying, the fish weren't spooking on these big baits. They would sit there and look at it forever. They would just sit there. It didn't matter what bait. I had 5 different rods, 5 different lures on. They would just sit and look at it. I finally went down to what everyone's calling their live scope rigs now. I finally went down to this itty bitty 32nd ounce hair jig, and with a fluorocarbon leader, with the weight above it, your stuff's coming more and more. I'm going to talk about how I do this. With this live scope, this is becoming a huge technique and a tip a lot of crappie fishermen are using. So we went from this guy right here to this guy all the way down to this guy. And we ended up catching crappie on that guy. But they weren't the big ones. The only fish we could get to bite were 10 to 12 inches, which is 10 to 12 inches to a lot of people in the country. That's a big crappie. Not down here in these Oklahoma lakes. There's 3-pound crappie in this lake. We were catching pounders, and that's a bad day for us because we know what the potential was and where we were at. So it was just a bad day. So I'm telling you, I mean, I'd love to show you a video, but there was nothing to show you. I mean, these fish would just sit there and look at it. These big fish would stare at this little 32nd ounce jig just like they would the big 1/4 ounce afterburners and moorheads. There was no, they just would not want to eat. I guarantee if you went back there the very next day, you could have had 7 crappie that weighed 16 pounds. It was a bad day, and I hated it. I was so ready. Matt is a huge bass fisherman. He fishes the Bass Opens, and in the wintertime he crappie fishes because he knows how much fun it is. I couldn't wait to get out there and show Matt how awesome crappie fishing was, right? And show him that I'm a true crappie guy. I've won 30 crappie tournaments in 5 different states. I didn't prove crap that day. I proved that I sucked. And no one will tell you that. It sucked. It was bad. It was, I loved sharing the boat with Matt. That was a fun day, but man, it was rough. It was not good. I didn't have anything to share with you. Now, I have been fishing since then. I've been doing a lot of bass fishing, trying to learn this live scope and this bass. That's going to be the future. So I've been spending a lot of time, and I'm learning, and I'll do some videos there, but I'm still getting comfortable with it. I don't want to waste your guys' time turn into a video of me trying to learn this crap. So I'm trying to get it dialed in. If I get some good videos, I got a way now to rig up where you can see the live scope when I'm fishing. But I want to show you these largemouth on this live scope. They're totally different than the crappie for sure. They act different. You can tell them apart. It's pretty easy once you stare at enough of them. I've been at Table Rock the last 2 weekends. I haven't been crappie fishing at all. Been doing this bass thing. But I'll get you some videos. Next video I'll do for you guys is the settings. Everybody wants to know how I set up my live scope. Question I keep getting asked over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is the mount right here on my live scope. That is Beat Down Outdoors. It's the greatest mount I've ever seen. These guys have done it. They've come up with a great deal. Something I want to show you guys right now. And something else I need to talk about. I'm not a full-time guide. I don't guide. I'm not a fishing guide. I have a full-time job just like you guys. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate enough that I actually own the company that I work for, so I get to take off a lot more than most folks would, but I still have a job. I still have responsibilities, so I don't get to go as much as other people. But every week and second I'm not doing that, I'm going to be out here fishing, so you might as well come along with me, and it can show you guys, and hopefully you can learn something. One thing we always get asked, this stuff that I went with Matt, I talked to Matt prior to coming down. You saw me using a spinning reel down there in the Texas videos that I did down at Lake of the Pines, and I think there was another lake in there. There was another lake. Gosh, what was the other lake? I can't even remember the name of the lake I went to in Oklahoma. New lake, it'll come to me. I was using a spinning reel because the fish were deep. Anytime the fish are in the water column less than 15 foot, I just use this mini reel and I actually put it on there backwards. And the reason I do that, because when I fish, the line drops over here and I don't want to get hung up on the handle. And I use my hands to come in and out of the water. I don't need a spinning reel if I'm fishing. That weighs nothing. It doesn't get in the way. It doesn't have that big, massive handle that a spinning reel has. This is a Bass Pro Shop. Less than $20 reel, guys. That's what I use when the fish are shallower than 20 feet. 15 feet. More than 15 feet, I can't, I don't reel. I use my finger and I boat flip them. I'll show you videos of that too, how to use this thing. I love this thing. It's doesn't weigh nothing. You can use it all day. That's shallow water when I'm jigging these crappie. Deep crappie, you gotta have a spinning reel to spin up a little bit before you boat flip them, or some of you guys use a net and wait for the net. So that's one thing. People, a lot of questions I've been getting asked. I want to show you this rig that I tie up. Everyone's got their own little system now. I mean, what we're seeing is, with this live scope, is the way these crappie are reacting to our baits. And there are times, you know, I said big bait, big crappie was our last video. Yeah, there's time for that. But there's also a time this big bait spooks them. That didn't happen to be the case I just had on my last trip. The case I had on the last trip is the sun guns wouldn't bite. They weren't spooking from the bait. They were just looking at it and not biting it. But there's times, and there's certain lakes, where if you're not using this little bitty guy here, you're not going to have a chance to catch fish or even win the tournament. So everyone has a way of tying this on. Fluorocarbon is the best leader material I've seen for that. I have this tied to 15-pound braid. The braid I'm using, I believe, is Power Pro or it's Strike King braid. The braid doesn't matter to me. Who cares? It's braid. Stuff's awesome, no matter whose you uses. I'm using 15-pound main, and I tie that down to a 6-pound fluorocarbon. right? And the knot I tie, we could go, man, you go to YouTube and talk about fluorocarbon leaders to braid, you could get in a rabbit hole and a black hole on that stuff. It'd take you days to see all the knots these guys have come up with. This leader material has taken off. Bass world, it's really going to take off in the crappie world. You guys need to learn how to do this. I never used to do it. I used to go to straight braid, and getting my butt kicked in some of these national tournaments because I wasn't using the fluorocarbon. What happens is the braid is so coarse that these fish can get so spooky and pressured, and post-spawn they're really weary. I think the braid cutting through the water, the sound, the pressure of the braid was actually spooking the fish off. Fluorocarbon will actually sink in the water column. It'll sink slow, so it doesn't have that abrasive noise coming through the water. So if you got spooky fish, fluorocarbon is becoming a deadly technique for crappie. The bass side, I mean, you look at the bass guys, 90% of their fishing is done with fluorocarbon now. They still use monofilament for certain applications and braid when they're in the grass and using topwater, but fluorocarbon has taken over the world. Well, it has a use in the crappie world too. I'm late to the game on that. But what I do is I tie, there's an FG knot. I'm not an expert at it. John Sukup with the Bass Tank taught me how to tie it. It's a strong knot braid to fluorocarbon. It takes a long time to tie it. So if I'm sitting in my shop right now and I'm bringing up rods, I'll tie an FG knot. It takes a long time, and it takes every hand you got. It almost takes 4 hands to tie the silly thing. Go check out this knot, the FG knot here online. You can see it, but it's powerful. One that I have used is the double uni knot. It's easy to tie when you're out in the wind and you're sitting down the boat. I've just been tying a double uni knot. I've caught 5-pound smallmouth on it and 2.5-pound crappie on it. So if you tie it right, everything's about your knot. When your line usually breaks, it usually breaks if there's been a nick or abrasion, or if your knot's bad. But if I've been tying a double uni knot most of the time when I'm in the boat, I don't have time to sit down and do that FG, and it's been fine. And I put on about a 3 to 4 foot leader on this stuff to get that braid away from that fish's head so he doesn't feel it or see it. This stuff's almost invisible, fluorocarbon on the water. I like a 3/16 or a 1/4 ounce. That's a tungsten weight. That's a Woo tungsten weight. And the coolest thing, I just put bobber stops above and below that weight, and I just cinch her down. And this allows you to move this weight wherever you want. And bobber stops are some cool, simple, inexpensive way to stop your weight. And you can just adjust that up and down however you want. Put that thing where you want. But I do like the bobber stop on top as well, because when you pitch out there, your weight will want to travel all the way up your leader. So I put it on top and bottom and just make it stay put. It'll move when you catch a fish or whatever, but that way it allows you to move it wherever you want. Get that far enough away from that fish. Boy, that tungsten shows up on that live scope big time. So here's a crop rib. That's just a little custom 32nd ounce hair jig. I had a guy tie up for me. Pretty cool jig. We are going to come out with 32nd ounce War Eagles. That'll be coming out next year, right? The War Eagles with the awesome hook. We've got those coming in 32nd ounce because there's a time and a place. That's the only thing you can use to catch fish, and we want Jinko Fishing wants to have a bait for all applications. So that's coming through Jinko. But there that is, and here's that knot up here. That's just a double uni knot I tied. It's strong. It's not going to break on you if you tie it right. And it's quick and easy to tie. The rest of them are pretty sophisticated. And like I said, that FG knot's a sophisticated knot. So that's what I used to end up catching. We caught, I say it was a horrible day of fishing. Keep in mind, we still caught 20-some crappie, and we had to catch them on this guy here. We caught 2 on the 1/4 ounce heads, and then the day just went down from there. But 20 crappie a day is pretty good to people. But we know what lives in this lake, and it was not a good day. Them suckers would not bite. So do they bite every time I go out? Heck no. Do they bite every time you go out? No. I still caught 2 crappie over 2 pounds, guys. A 2-pound crappie, a legitimate 2-pound crappie. I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care about these YouTubers. I don't care about people on Facebook. A legitimate 2-pound crappie is a giant. That is a giant crappie anywhere in the country. And you're talking to people that catch 3-pound crappie every time they go. No, they don't. I have been crappie fishing. I have crappie fished in 16 different states. I've won crappie tournaments in 5 different states in my life. I have caught a total of 13 legitimate 3-pound crappie in my life. There's not a bunch of them out there, guys. There isn't. Especially in Missouri where I live. I haven't caught any in my home state of Missouri ever. All those fish came from Oklahoma and Texas. So you gotta go where the big ones live. So there you go. Not a lot of videos, a lot of work happening. I gotta quit that. So that's too much work, not enough fishing. I'll get you some videos. Next video I'll show you my settings. I'll walk you through how I set up my live scope, and everyone does a little bit different. And then I'll get you some videos of this deep bass fishing where you can locate some of these bass. And somewhere in there I'm gonna slide off and go crappie fishing at some point. And we're sitting here in January, February, March. You can catch those 3-pound crappie, and I will go do that a little bit. So thank you guys who have subscribed to the channel. As always, in the comments, let us know something you want us to talk about. Like I said, this channel is for you guys. It's not for me. I have a full-time job and a lot of kids and a really bad fishing habit. So this is for you guys to learn. If you want me to teach you something, you want to see something on our channel, let us know. If you want me to quit talking so much and just show catching, let me know. Everyone has a different idea of what they want to see in YouTube's channel. When I watch a lot of YouTube videos, I like learning is what I do. I go to these bass guys' YouTubes and I try to learn. And I learn something from every one of them. I go to crappie fishing and bass fishing YouTube channels, and I try to pick up a tip or technique. That's what this stuff is, and hopefully you guys can do the same here. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you a lot of fish catch because I like setting the hook. So I know we got to get you some live action photos or videos of the live scope, and we'll do that. I got a way to do that. So for now, it's blowing about 30 miles an hour outside, and it's a breeze. I mean, you couldn't ask for worse weather to go fishing. So, all right, till next time, guys. Thank you. Good fishing.